Your thoughts on buying versus renting a house now?
I think that in the vast majority of markets in the US right now, it is more advantageous to rent than buy. Um, Prices are crazy. And like the American dream telling you that it has to be about owning a home can be a dangerous thing for a lot of people because I think there's a lot of homeowners in the US who own some expensive home but have zero cushion if something goes wrong. And to me, that's like an inexcusable thing to, take on a whole bunch of debt and be in a situation for your family. Like as a father and someone with more traditional values, like I just think it's inexcusable to leave my family in a place where we don't have a cushion or a safety net if I all of a sudden can't work for 6 months or something goes wrong or we have a big healthcare expense. And a lot of that happens because of this pressure to buy a home, right? You go buy like, oh, I make $1 million a year. Well, a bank will loan me enough money. If I'm making $1 million a year in a W-2 income, a bank will loan me enough money to go buy a $4.5 million house, in Newport Beach. And I might be spending 50 grand a month now on like between my mortgage and my property taxes and all the things associated with owning this home. And then I have the nannies and I like the whole life, the expenses. Now every single month I am break even on this million, like I'm making $1 million a year and I'm somehow breaking even on that money. So I have no nest egg, no cushion. And if something goes wrong, if I can't work or if I lose my job, we have a month before we run out of money. Like one of my best friends actually, was working for a long time in a like lucrative career track and got laid off and literally given 2 weeks notice after 15 years at this company, like thought he was on the long-term track. And we sat down and I was like, oh, let's talk about your next career track, but like, let's walk through your numbers first. And he had 2 months of runway. He's got 3 kids. He had 2 months of runway. And it's literally because like we've created this culture where you have to buy a home. Now you have to move to the suburbs. Now you need the country club. Now it's all the keeping up with the Joneses that we've created.
I just want to point out the fact that the way they mentioned that, like the runway, a lot of people don't realize that if that blew by you, that means you know how much you have, how much runway you have till you come to the end before, because you hoping that you can take off before you get to the end of the runway, like much like a plane. And that's what he also said, like you're on the long term. Like what word did he say?
Property taxes and all the things associated with owning this home. And then I have the nannies and I like the whole life even on that money. So I have no nest egg, no cushion. And if something goes wrong, actually, was working for a long time in a like lucrative career track and got laid off and literally given 2 weeks notice after 15 years at this company, like thought he was on the long-term track. And
the long-term track. Say, I like learning these new words, man, because I mean, not that I learn them new. I know what they mean, but in my everyday conversation, there's just not words that I come across. But yeah, like you said, the runway and all that. But yeah, let's get back to it.
That sort of insulates him from it on the back end of this. And yeah, they made some, I mean, I told him, I was like, dude, you have to make some serious changes to the way that you guys spend money because there's no excuse for not having 6 months of, you've been working 15 years on a lucrative track. You need a 6-month emergency fund.
What car was he driving?
Like Audis, not like nice cars, but like in a nice suburb.
What sort of friend goes to you and says like, here's my like monthly expenditures? Because even for me, like, I don't think any one of my friends would come to me and say like, hey, go over my monthly expenses and tell me how to save money.
My friends do. I literally got a FaceTime call yesterday.
Really?
I got a FaceTime call yesterday from a friend from in high school. And he was like, hey man, because he quit his job recently. He's like, hey man, look, I got this money and I'm traveling the world and I was in Europe and I spent like 15 grand on this trip. He's like, I don't know if I can afford it. Could you just go over and create a spreadsheet for me like I know you did for another friend? Because I did it for another friend. And we could go through all the income, all the expenses. I'm like, great, list out all of your assets, all of your liabilities, how much money you could be making if you got a full-time job with your engineering degree, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, okay, cool, I'm on it. Like the friends do that.
Dude,
it's extraordinarily valuable for that friend that you did that too, by the way.
Give him Caleb Hammer's number.
No, this guy, he's in a better financial position than most people on his show. Yeah. But my friends know that like if they're in a spot, then they can come to me and I'll walk them through everything. So,
I mean, for context, this is like my brother.
And that's a big important one. I feel like everybody should have somebody they can talk to about money. And that's the big thing, especially within our culture and even in the community. Like we don't have nobody we can talk to. Financial literacy, that's what we always talk about. But most of the time, you only gonna get people that talk about the scammers. You only gonna get people that talk about doing these bank loans and all like financial literacy, the grifters and all that stuff. Nobody's actually like, hey, let's budget. Now they do exist. They're just not glorified. Like, hey, let's budget. Like, let's not get these nice cars. Because everybody you see in our community, in the black community, that got the money, they always throwing it all in your face. Look at my Tesla Cybertruck. Look how much money I made here. Look how much, but it's like, hey, can you teach me how to save my money, budget my money, do this, do that, and all that? Then it's like, oh, I actually charge you for that. You have to pay me to tell you how to do that. Meanwhile, look at these guys. They just on here like, hey, I just did it for a friend. I just told my friend how I could save him some money, how he should budget, where he should invest, how he should save his money, and now he's doing a lot better. Like, but we don't do that. We get the money, and it's all I always got to show you cars, trips, shoes, clothes, the lifestyle. Like, you always showing your lifestyle. And look at these guys, not one chain on them.
Like, this is like my best childhood friend. I've known him forever. I was shocked, frankly, by the whole
Not one,
situation.
just a wedding
And like
ring.
now he's making adjustments and he'll be in a much better place. But the point is, a lot of this is cultural. Again, to the point earlier of like your environment, it's all
Just told you, it's cultural. Never seen this video before.
mimetic. So like if you think that the next step is buy a house, then it's have a kid, then it's the country club, then it's the, fancy car, then it's the vacation home. You do all these things. And then 2008 happens and you see why like a bunch of people had all these houses and boats and stuff that they couldn't actually afford. But like we live in a country where people will loan you money to buy things that you cannot afford. Just point blank, you can't afford the thing. Like my rule has always been if you're going to take on debt to buy something, exclude a house. If you're going to take on debt to buy a material purchase like a car or a boat, you better be able to pay for that thing in cash twice over. Like then it's like, okay, I can afford this thing. Definitively, I can afford this thing. So now if I want to play the financial game of taking on the debt because the interest rate makes sense versus what I can invest it at, I get it. Go do it. But if you can't pay for it twice over, the reality is you cannot afford this thing. You are living beyond your means. You're using someone else's money to buy a thing that you can't afford. So you have to be eyes wide open about.
Which is fucking crazy. Crazy. We take loans out with interest to buy things we can't afford to impress people for no reason at all, to impress the women, to do like, yo, it don't make no sense. And Jay-Z said, if I can't buy it twice, I don't need it. I can't afford it. It's that simple.
What that means about your financial situation in buying this. Like, again, you're doing something you can't afford.
Yeah, I'm seeing when it comes to houses, a lot of stories on Reddit right now about people who've bought in like 2022, 2023, 2024, and they were told or they had the belief that, oh, I was supposed to refinance when rates came back down. And now rates never came down and I have to make this payment and we want to move now. But I owe more than I could sell the house for. And I would have to come out of pocket to sell my house. And I can't do that. So my only other option is to rent. But if I rent it, I'm losing $1,500 every single month, to own this house and rent it. So I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. And then you hear everyone on Reddit just going off on this. But I think it's becoming more and more and more common. The market's softened enough where people can't get out of their houses and they're at an interest rate that they can't rent it out profitably.
I think the housing market is going to explode at some point. It does not make sense to me, the way the housing market has functioned. I also think if you're a young person in a major city or suburban area, like the pathway to owning a home at the current prices, I don't know how you're possibly going to save up enough money from like a normal job. You could be doing well, like making $150K a year, $200K a year in LA, let's say. I don't know what the path is to you saving enough money to have a down payment on a legitimate nice home.
It's the great wealth transfer.
But it's
a lot of people are
crazy.
getting money from parents or financial assistance from parents, and then they're buying the house.
Yeah. When I bought our house in New York, I had a 7-year interest-only loan on it that I now have 3 more years on it. It's at 2%, I think.
Wow.
But I only have 3 more years on it, and then it's going to adjust. And so like the cost of living in this house right now is incredible. But in 3 years, if we're still in the house, if I haven't sold it by then, or if I haven't paid down the whole mortgage by then, I mean, it's going to be insane, the actual like market adjustment on the thing. I'm actually shocked, by the way, like that banks aren't out there paying you or giving you a discount on paying it down to just get you out of these loans.
That's what I thought.
Like Bank of America should come and pay me to just get out of this.
I
loan.
think they're already getting people to take HELOCs out, because I always get these flyers in the mail that are like, hey, you'd be surprised at the amount of equity you have in your home. You could get a check for $100,000.
So I looked into this because I had it was a 7-figure loan at 2.875% fixed for 30 years. And I wanted to see if I can negotiate.
And by the way, I've been in real estate for almost 9 years. I've been a real estate appraiser for almost 3. So that's why I find a lot of interest in watching these videos and kind of just listening to see what they're saying, because it is a different market in every different market. But for what's going on in their market, you better believe if it happened to your market, then you can take information from this. So it's always good to listen and take notes.
Paying it off.
Yeah, at a discount.
Yeah, exactly.
There should be, right? Like there should be a discount.
I think the issue there is that those loans are sold and bundled together, and it's not like you could individually negotiate that one loan. Like if you had a private investor on the other side, they'd be begging you to pay this thing off.
I'm just shocked there's not, like normally within financial markets, if there's a way to make money, like there's like clips, like, arbitrage like that, someone is going and doing it. And so I won't be shocked actually if like you hear about a financial product being created by some enterprising hedge fund or investment banker that allows people to go and do this.
See, I want that. I also want to be able to take the mortgage with me to the next property.
Yeah.
So if I could afford this mortgage, as long as the next property appraises and there's enough upside on them, I should be able to take that 2.875, take the same amount that I owe and just move it over to another property. And if anything, it could be backed by even more equity. Like the upside could be even greater in terms of like if I don't pay, they get even a bigger payout.
You can do that in certain countries. Canada, you can do that. You can't do it in the US. Or it's just very non-standard. I looked into this recently because we're thinking of moving and to the Boston area, and you just can't do it. They're not set up to be able to go and do that. But the whole thing that breaks my brain on the housing market is I fundamentally don't understand why there is this assumption of housing values going up over long periods of time. Like houses, I understand the land piece of it, but the house itself. So I'm like, okay, I get it. You have land that should be appreciating over time because it's scarce, but the house definitively gets worse. Like the house itself is a depreciating asset, or it should be. Like if you go get a 20-year-old house, that house is worse and costs more money to maintain than a brand new house.
Okay, I'll give you the counter argument. You have plenty of homes throughout California that are 100 years old or more, and they're still standing. The foundations are still holding up. They need repairs, obviously, but they're still functionally there. The counter to that is that labor is more expensive, materials are more expensive, and when you look at the long term over 30 years, it could cost more to recreate the same thing, thereby driving the values up because you look at the replacement value. It's not all of it, obviously, but that's a component to it.
And that's something we do with real estate appraisal. We can also do the sales approach, or we can do the cost approach when it comes to residential. That's there is 3, but those are the 2 main things. It's also the income approach, which we'll get. You don't really need to get into that when you're thinking about residential, unless you are talking about multifamily units or something like that. But for the most part, yes, what he's talking about is right. The replacement, how much it will cost to actually build this house again in this market with these materials and all that stuff, and due to inflation and everything and how much costs of materials have went up, you it's crazy that an old building is still standing up stronger than some of these new builds. You know what I'm saying? Like, and because the dude on the left argument is saying, hey, this is an older house. You know what I mean? So why would it cost this much for an older house that's depreciating? It's because these older homes were built better with better materials and more stronger materials. Everything is microwave right now. That's why you see stuff get knocked down. It's not lasting, made of this plywood and just the wood. Like people want brick, people want stone. You see what I'm saying? Like these are the things in a good foundation. These are the things that will last in the end.
So you buy into the whole housing prices should just keep going up over long term?
No, I buy that they will go up, but is that enough to counteract inflation and opportunity cost and repairs and maintenance? I don't know, but I think when you look at nominal home values and the prices, I think 50 years from now they're going to be much higher. But is that enough? Here's an example. If home prices go up on average 2% a year, which it's been about 1.5% a year over the last 100 years, but is inflation 3%? Like, does that eat into the value of the home? Now, your real returns are negative, but you're showing a price increase on your house.
I also think this overlays into the whole AI discussion from earlier of whether or not we're completely cooked. Because if you think about who has bought homes in the United States, it's been knowledge.
I'll tell you, it's been big corporations, hedge funds. They have bought the most homes in the United States within the last couple years. They have been spending money above market value to outbid the average home buyer. Imagine you got a good job, you got a down payment, you finally going up to buy this home. It's the perfect home for you. Then the hedge fund comes with all this money they got, like, hey, we'll give you $15,000 over asking, and boom, just like that, you out of it. Let's see what he says.
Workers, basically, like if you think about these high-priced homes in like these city areas, like these prices have continued to go up. It's basically knowledge workers, right? It's like all these college-educated knowledge workers working at these big companies that are hiring tons of college-educated kids. And my question is, a lot of those jobs are going to get just eviscerated. These knowledge worker jobs, right? Like the first thing that gets eviscerated is like, social media manager, marketing manager, like, all of these like roles that are increasingly using AI to disrupt, especially at the entry level. And so you wonder whether like this whole kind of house of cards that's been created in the US economy with like, okay, we take out huge student loans to go to these overpriced colleges because we know that there are jobs on the back end of it as knowledge workers, which are going to be these high priced jobs, which is going to allow us to do the American dream, move to the suburbs, have a country club and have a house. If pieces of that start to get broken, does the whole thing just start crumbling?
Yeah, I think it does. I just posted a video about this, that college tuitions increased the moment they created the Department of Education. And what's crazy is that once they began subsidizing student loans, which I get why they did that to promote people to go to college, once they started subsidizing and giving loans, college tuitions increased accordingly. So now you borrow more to pay more, which required you to borrow more to pay more, and it was this upward cycle. The same thing, to a smaller extent, has been the case with housing, that it is subsidized by the government, who even backs mortgages. They'll buy they guarantee that they will buy your mortgage, even if there's not an investor, because they want to make sure there's money flowing into the markets. And studies have found that there is a marginal increase in the home's price when it's backed by the federal government versus homes that are not. All other things being equal, that being the only variable, that those homes sell for a little bit more. So there is an upward pressure on housing prices, the fact that it is subsidized by the government. But now you can also argue wealth creation, the government.
AKA everybody's just being greedy as, you see what I'm saying? Everybody is like, oh, what? Because they see the avenue like, okay, if there's a possibility to increase as far as rent, to increase interest rates, to increase it, increase the total price of it, like, they're going to do it. That is where we are now. Nobody cares about your feelings and, hey, this shouldn't go like this way. This shouldn't be this way. It should stay like, we shouldn't be charged. Nobody cares. Not colleges, not anybody that's in it for the money. And colleges are in it for the money. Nobody's playing it safe. Everybody is trying to stuff their pockets in every single industry across the board. Everybody is trying to keep their money in their pockets and get more money. Why? Like, listen, that's just what it is. It's not about quality control no more. Quality control will be obsolete in the future. Nobody's going to be talking about quality control. All we talking about is that money on. You feel me? That money.
As an incentive on that, it leads to higher property taxes, higher revenues for the city. I mean, I'm sure there's some benefits there, but like, to what degree? Because I guarantee if you have an investor on the other side of the loan, they would be negotiating, like you said, to pay off those loans faster. Or if they get in a bad deal, they want to get that off the books. Or they would just say, hey, right now is a shaky market. We're not going to lend money. And if the capital market dries up and people want to sell their house, they can take a huge hit on that. So
this is like a Bitcoiner's wet dream. This whole a Ponzi scheme of the U.S. economy that's been based around this inflation target.
It's kind of true because the housing market should be efficient. It should be, if you're a borrower with a 650 credit score, you should be paying a much higher interest rate than the person with a 680 credit score. Just like, but the government looks at
I don't know about a lot or that much more higher for 30 points difference in credit score.
These things, and if you have a score above 650 and you have like all these things are treated the exact same. Like me having an 845 credit score makes no difference compared to the person who has a 780. So like, I feel like there should be benefits to having a higher score, more income, being a safer borrower. But the fact is, like, you can only get rates so low.
I feel like
and that's another point that I would say is, that's where you see what's happening in the market. The middle class, they don't care no more. You're either going to be rich or you're going to be poor. You sitting over here with a 750, a 800 credit, they going to treat you just like the dudes from 675. Hey, do you want this house or not? This is the rate we offering. We know you've been working all hard paying credit, but guess what? It don't really matter that much no more because they can do this. If it can happen, it will happen. If they can offer you the same rate they offering somebody at 675, you're going to take it because you're like, hey, well, what am I going to do? Either I'm not going to get the deal or I'm going to take it and I'm going to try to refinance it later. Like, come on, knock it off.
The other thing with the whole buy versus rent debate that people miss is life isn't lived on paper. So like whenever you see one of these debates, people lay out the math and they're like, okay, well, here's what it looks like if I buy, and then here's what it looks like if I rent. And generally speaking, when I've seen people lay out this math, it's like, okay, you should rent because, the return you actually got from this home that you owned is not outpacing that same money you put into the S&P 500, and you didn't have to deal with the headaches of home ownership along the way. And so there's like, when people live it out on paper, I understand that. I understand that whole debate. What I think it misses is the part of life that is just not lived on paper, that like, it makes me feel really good that I own a home, that I have my family come and stay in, that I can have friends come and stay in, and that I own it. I don't know why I care that I own it versus me renting it, but there's something about Saturday morning, like I'm cooking pancakes and my parents are playing with my little kid in a house that I bought that like brings me more joy than about anything else in the world. And I can't put that on paper. I don't know where that is on this math sheet, but it would feel different to me if I rented that.
That was the top comment of my video where I went over the math, and the top comment was, I don't view my house as an investment. I just want a place to live that's my own. And I agree with that. Like, not everyone is seeing a house as an investment, but then you got to put it on the list of expenses of where do you put that in terms of like driving a nicer car? Where do you put that in terms of like flying first class or eating out at a great restaurant, getting experiences in your life? Like it's got to now be tracked as not only a place to live, but it is a financial expense that you have to think about.
So that was the iced coffee hour, and I think they did a good job at
Why do you think people have such morbid curiosity?
going over that, man, because it's a real topic, man. But yeah, I think I should start doing more real estate stuff, more financing stuff. Let's get to the money, let's get to some real knowledge, and not just all the entertainment and all the other stuff. So we're gonna keep talking about that. I'm gonna start putting more of that on. I was thinking about doing that on another channel, but you know what? Y'all deserve it too. Y'all absolutely deserve it, man. Since y'all been rocking with me. But yeah, Ruffle Feathers TV. Let me know what y'all think about that.